so excited for you to meet today's guest. Anu Vaid is the founder with her husband of ParentSquare. And Anu has become a friend, and I am in awe of her story. I had never heard it before. Just this past year, I was at an event and got to really hear the founding story of where ParentSquare was, why it was created, how it was created. And today I'm going to share that story with you. Anu's going to talk about how she got started and how she really started growing this, her passion for school communication and ultimately student success. We're going to dive into, just the different levels of technology and understanding and how to meet parents truly where they're at and the importance of that. And so Anu is just amazing. So again, very excited for you just to learn a little bit more about her and, find out if ParentSquare is a great option that your school should be looking at. It is not a sales podcast. We're not just trying to push. We're just trying to let you understand the power of this and the heart of ParentSquare, so that you can really consider it. And if you are a ParentSquare user, you're probably very happy because you have a great tool. And so we're gonna talk about a lot of things, and I think it's going to give you something to think about no matter what platform you use for school communication, for your mass communication, or your parent teacher communication. This is a great episode for you to learn from. Before we get started with today's K-12 PR tip, just want to remind you as we head into the fall, my book, Social Media for Schools, is available now on Amazon. We have sold thousands of books and we want to get it out into more hands. I just want to share today a review that we received on Amazon from Megan. She entitled her review, "The Holy Grail for School PR." And Megan says this: "As someone relatively new to school PR, this book and all the resources is a godsend. It's a fast read with great ideas. Being a one-person team for our district, this book has allowed me to be ready for this school year. I currently have content ready through January, with a strategy to capture stories that highlight our students and schools. Thanks, Andrea." This book is meant to help you each and every day with your storytelling. I have featured over 50 different stories inside of this book, practical things that are going to work for you. So check it out. You can grab it on Amazon. The link is in the show notes. Social Media for Schools, just released in 2023. You're going to want to check it out. Now let's get to today's K-12 PR tip. All right, today's K-12 PR tip is a simple one, and maybe you know this and maybe you don't, but I love emojis. I want you to use emojis in your posts. But did you know that an emoji directly next to a link, like in Facebook, they aren't clickable? Okay, so you got to use a space in between an emoji and a link. We shouldn't be using links on Instagram posts, right? Because they're not clickable in there. We don't want people, they're not going to copy and paste a link in Instagram. That's where your links or your stories, where you can add a link to a story, comes in very handy. But again, emojis directly next to links don't work. You got to use a space. Simple. Maybe you already know that. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do now. So let's get to this week's interview with Anu. Good morning, Anu. How are you?
Great.
I am really, really excited to have a very successful entrepreneur, another woman, business owner, business partner, I guess, maybe, running a great company that I've learned a ton about in the last few years and hear nothing but raving reviews. Anu, how do you pronounce your last name?
Vaid.
Vaid. Oh, that's easy. That's like not even complicated for my Wisconsin accent. So we have Anu Vaid with ParentSquare. Anu, why don't you share a little bit about your background with our listeners?
Yeah. I guess the easiest way to answer it is that I'm a computer engineer from India, brought up in New Delhi and landed in Santa Barbara, and work took us to a lot of places, both me and my husband Sohit, and we're both computer engineers. And when we came to Santa Barbara, we fell in love and have been here for the last 22 years.
That is awesome. So background in computer engineering. Did you do your studying in the States or back in New Delhi?
In New Delhi, yeah. So
Okay.
born, brought up, educated in New Delhi, which is, I guess, the most populated city in the world now. So
That's
crazy there to
that
Santa.
is crazy. And you moved to Santa Barbara, having visited there a few times. I know why you fell in love and decided to stay there.
Yes, absolutely. It's man-made and nature-made beauty.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful. So you started ParentSquare, and just tell me the origin story of it because it's very, very interesting just how it all got started.
Yeah. So I guess, the idea was formed in August of 2010 when my younger son was starting kindergarten. And, I'd taken a year off from work just to be with my two kids, my daughter in second grade and my son in kindergarten. Um, Actually, they were first and preschool. And, during that time, I realized that was a world of difference from the time when I was a working parent to the time when I was a stay-at-home parent. So, uh, when I was a working parent, it was crazy to keep up with the amount of information coming from school. The teachers were using emails, PTA was using Google Groups, and the principal was using newsletter, and the school office was using robocalls, and oh my God, like crazy. And I was like, why isn't all of this just one source and one single place of information? And also, that was the time when everything was going online. Like, we were doing social online with Facebook and all, and we were paying our bills online. And I thought there has to be a better way. And so, you know, uh, I'd always wanted to start a company to do something to help people. And I pitched the idea to Sohit, and Sohit was like, yeah, that's all great. The idea sounds very good, but let's find if people would want this. So I took it to the principal at my kid's school, not knowing that, charter schools have an easier path of adoption. And she loved the idea. She was like, here are 3 teachers, go build the product. So, so we together, you know, built the very, very early version of ParentSquare.
And that was with your husband. You guys built that for the those 3 teachers that they
Yeah.
gave you?
Yeah. And, there was a small team of our friends as well. So yeah, so we built the product. We launched in January of 2011.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I would say it was fairly quickly enough that we spread in Santa Barbara, just, some private schools, some public schools, and, very different sort of schools, preschools as well. But then, that's when the learning of how school industry works came into picture. It took us literally like 3-4 years to actually get outside of Santa Barbara. So uh, yeah, so the word of mouth is not, as a technologist, you think if they build it, they will come, and that does not happen with education. So
Yeah. Well, you were easily able to grow in your area, and is that because like some educators are kind of connected and they know each other, and so then they're like, "Hey, this works out really well."
yes, yes. The parents were loving it, schools were loving it, and especially as we started working with teachers, they were like, hey, we cannot use this product if we're not involving families who cannot speak English, and families who are not very tech savvy. So we quickly made changes to accommodate for that. And when the school saw, hey, this brings in equity and this really helps us communicate with families, all families, so then they wanted it. I used to go present at local principals meetings, and that's how uh, they were very open. Obviously, the district hadn't adopted then. Districts have a larger, sort of a longer cycle. They need to vet the product more thoroughly. But uh, you know, but very early on, we were selling only to schools, and we learned how districts work and want things to be, and just, dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's for everything related to privacy and security as well. So,
Right. So you started at the school level. When did you was that your full-time job and your husband's, he was still working his day job?
yes, yes. Yes, he was the nights and weekends person. Actually, the other team members were more nights and weekend people, and I was the full-time person. And, I think it was really 2014, late 2014, when we got our first set of schools outside Santa Barbara. And, we got our first round of investors, and we got our first salesperson, a co-founder that we added. And, after that, it was like stars aligned. And, very soon after that, 5-6 months after that, Sohit joined full time. And he's really the big picture person. And so he joined and as the CEO of the company.
Okay.
And now I'm, the president and chief product officer. So we
Okay.
divided our responsibilities, work really well together.
Yeah. That's amazing. Just with my story and my experience of starting my own business, and then, a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of people told you, like, that's such a great idea.
Yeah.
But then it's like you worked on it for literally 3-4 years before it was really like, hey, this might work and help support my family and be, successful.
Yeah.
It was kind of similar thing to mine. I remember the first time Anu, when I figured out I could actually pay myself, which it was like, I think 2.5 or 3 years into it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this might actually work. And people don't realize that, but that must have been hard.
It is hard. And, the good thing is that when there are two of you, if my husband's earning, then I have that luxury of taking more time and putting some money in the business as well as is needed. So to make it successful. And definitely, we had applied for a lot of awards. We had won a lot of awards during those, like we tried everything during that 3-year period to make it work. Those awards resulted in a ton of industry love. I made a lot of connections to people who had very good advice for us, but somehow nothing was resulting in what I call school love. So, but then you just keep trying, like education, ed tech, and I've heard health tech is also similar, where it just takes perseverance. But, if you have traction, I guess what kept us going was the schools that we had that were really loving it and, wanting more out of the product. So having suggestions for improving it. So that really kept us going.
Yeah. And just to describe, like my experience with school communication is totally different from your experience. And I think everybody, a lot of issues with schools, it comes down to communication or lack of, or over communication. There's just so many issues. And your goal was to give them a tool that was really going to make it easy. I love the equity. I think, how many languages does ParentSquare have now?
It's over 130 languages. So.
Yeah. So over 130 languages, and there's different things that way that you're dealing with, especially in California, and having, maybe a more diverse than me in New Auburn, Wisconsin. But I have, I've grown up being a stepmom to 4 boys that go to school in different state. And my girls go to school in Wisconsin, and so they're an hour and a half apart, trying to keep up with all of the things and stay engaged. Also as not only as, the separation, but just there's a lot of homes that are blended homes, divorced families. Sometimes the parents aren't even raising them. So there's just so many dynamics now And I'm sure that it was the same thing back in 2010, that your solution really helps, I guess overcome, because you give the tools that those schools need to make communication easier. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I have so many heartwarming stories of parents coming to me, us going to like the bank and the bank teller telling us that what difference it has made in her life. And it's just when you hear it from people, it's so much powerful and you feel good about the difference that you're able to make in their life. So
Yeah. And so for any of you out there who haven't heard about ParentSquare, you need to check it out. Definitely, you have advocates all over the country. How many different, do you have like a school district number, or how many schools you're in? Do you know that number?
So, I think right now we support 9 million student families across the country. So, uh,
Whoa. 9 million student families. That is amazing. So that's impacting tens of millions of people when you think of the parents and all of that. Um, and it all started with you kind of identifying back in 2010. Geez. I mean, and I just think about back to 2010, there was so much less distraction then than there is now. I mean, there was really only Facebook and maybe Twitter. But now there's all the social media channels, there's all of the things that are vying for not only kids' attention, not only, parents' attention, but everybody. Um, so you've really had to adapt, I think, since you first started. So can you tell me a little bit about some of the changes that you've made to your product over the last 10 years to help serve these growing needs of your clients, which are your schools and your families?
yeah, when we first started the idea, we realized that everyone is at a different level of how they use technology. Like we had 70-year-old teachers, right, who'd never used technology before. And, it was so satisfying to have them come up to me and say, hey, you know, this is great. I'm able to use this. And on the other hand, we had parents who'd never used technology before because they never needed to, right? So they didn't know what to use technology for. And so ParentSquare acted as a gateway to technology for them as well, because now they had a reason to use technology, right? So, and to make them feel good about like, hey, I'm conversant with technology and I'm actually being informed about what's going on at my child's school and I can take a part. And then, all that, really all of it, I don't know if you felt as a mom, but I always felt that if I'm connected to my child's teacher, it's so much better for my child. My kids pay so much more attention to what is being taught at school because they know mom cares about school, what goes on. And, honestly, it's that magic that you want to bring to every single family, that connection between school and home. Uh, Being new to the country and in Santa Barbara, school actually became our family. So, our first tagline was belong to your school. So it should feel like school is one big family. And that's what ParentSquare does even today. It unifies everything at school.
Yeah,
And
and there's
yeah, sorry, I'm trying to remember the question you asked.
no, I was just talking about adapting to all of
Yes,
those
I know, I
changes
know.
over the
So
years.
really over the years, then, so the first thing was to make it easier for people who cannot use technology. So we tried to make it simpler and simpler. So, you know, if 90% of the people don't need it, then don't put the option out. Like, make it hide it for the 10% of the people who do need it under an advanced tab or something. And then over the years, as more districts adopted it, we really listened to our customers to see, hey, what do the districts need? So ParentSquare has evolved into this enterprise product now, which is still simple enough for classroom teachers to use, yet powerful enough for districts to adopt.
Okay. So what are the different buckets? Because I've been through some of your training. I just was on a call actually today with Tony, who is the face of a lot of your really easy to follow
Yes.
training. But just tell me a little bit about those buckets of communication that, schools or districts are able to use.
Yeah. So, the big bucket that we replace and we sort of modernize, as we call it, is the mass communications bucket. By mass communications, I mean, the robocalls that were going home, the one-way messaging that the district does, and that includes really your attendance notifications, you're falling short of lunch balances, any progress reports going home, any, all of those things. And the reason I say modernize is, say, for instance, your progress reports, they used to go home via a paper progress report at the end of the, we now bring it online. So schools know exactly if the parents have read it or they haven't read it. And for parents who don't have access, they can actually then send it via paper just to those families. So, obviously saving a ton of paper, but also, the ability to schedule calls and not have it go out at the moment, and to see the deliverability based on a student family, not just these many emails were delivered, but this family did not receive anything via email, text, app notification, robocall, anything. Please fix data to make sure this family receives notification. That is huge. So that's one big bucket called mass communications. The other big bucket is actually the two-way engagement platform, which is what classrooms seek. So, some people call it classroom communications. We can call it two-way engagement. And that's the heart of ParentSquare, right? Is to enable those conversations, to make people feel that, hey, the school is welcoming me because they are allowing me to send back ideas and corrections and questions or anything, right? So that is big, and that includes a ton of things. Absolutely, like, there's the everyday announcements, but along with the announcements, you can have calendar entries, you can ask people to volunteer, you can ask them to send in tissue paper boxes, or healthy snacks or water bottles, or things that teachers pay out of their pocket from, right? So it gives teachers the ability to request parents for those things. Also, ask for payments, ask them to fill forms online, which is something that, oh my God, I cannot tell you how many people came up to me and asked for, can we please sign those permission slips online? I never can find them. So, bringing that into the platform and making them compliant, e-signs compliant for all state requirements and everything. And, it's just been such a fun and exciting journey. I'm sure I'm forgetting a ton of things like RSVP and doing those parent-teacher conferences online. And,
Yes.
and recently got in content management system platform, which allows schools to do their websites. So now I can say that we have communications with the community and communications within the school all on one platform. So that is, another big bucket right there.
Yeah. So kind of built on the two-way engagement. I'm assuming once you got to the district level, that's where you really focused on that big mass communications part, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And then because that is essential, because that's traditionally what districts were used to doing.
Yeah. But making it so easy for teachers. I mean, there's so many issues today with kids outside of school, and you only have them. I think, I'm getting ready to come to your big event, and I've been doing some research, and it's like, a student, by the time they're 18, really they spend about a fifth of their time at school, 20%. But yet we put a lot on our educators' shoulders, even though they're mostly influenced by time that's not spent at school. So how can we bridge that gap? And that's really what ParentSquare does. And you do that through, direct messaging, being able to easily bring volunteers in, easily sign permission slips, which is such a pain. It's a pain for the teachers, it's a pain for parents, it's a pain for students bringing them home. You solve all of that, and it's very easy to use.
Yeah, yeah. And the key was always, the idea was always to unify it all on one platform, so it's easy for the parents. Being a parent myself, and having my kids go through elementary, middle, and high school, and seeing the challenges, really it's my dream to be able to have those conversations. Still, I feel we serve so many high schools, but to be able to have those high school teachers regularly communicate with parents, because that's the time I feel, the teenagers, right? The toughest teenagers here, when it's very tough to get anything out of them, and it's just such a great feeling having my child say to Mom, how do you know everything? I'm like, yes, I know.
Yeah.
But even then, the classroom things, I guess I would still love to have high school teachers communicate more on the platform.
Yeah. And you do have an option, right, for even teacher student communication.
Yes.
Parameters set up for that to be properly done, because our high school students are soon going to be out in the world, and them realizing how they can also use technology to communicate is powerful as well.
Yeah, I mean, we hear every day from our students. We have a We Love ParentSquare wall, and the students are like, we love that we get to know what's going on at the school and not just only the classroom. And also that my parents know the same things as we do, so we don't have to relay this information every time. So many students are so thankful. And it's fun to read when they write to us, because their language is just absolutely different. So this is
Yeah,
this
we
is
can't,
really delicious. And so
right. Yeah, we can't keep up with all of that, just like I can't keep up with what different hand signals mean. Um, so
the acronyms.
right. Yeah. And schools have a lot of acronyms. So, ParentSquare, I think people can hear it in your voice, and you could have stopped a long time ago as far as needing to make this bigger, because you're doing really well and you're impacting students, but there's so many more schools to help. And that's what's been so cool about learning more about your story. But you talked about technology, just the fact that it teaches people how to use technology, which is huge. It's good for parents, it's good for teachers, it's good for students. It's really good in general for the communities. But what I just wanted to focus on as well, like, not only is it great for teachers to have an easy way to communicate, but teacher burnout and teachers being overwhelmed is a real thing. It's getting harder and harder to get people into education. So when a school district can have a tool like ParentSquare that, I mean, I've heard of people implementing this and they're just a year in and they're like, oh my gosh, our staff loves this. And when you can give them something that they absolutely love to use, it's easy, it's direct. I'm not searching down emails, I'm not searching out phone numbers. That can be a real thing for your retention of really high quality staff as well, don't you think?
Absolutely. So many things we hear from staff, especially like around parent teacher conferences, when it's like such, it's a tough time for them. So ParentSquare takes away all that load of managing when parents will come, what time, those putting those sheets outside. That was one. Parents coming, you can quickly put up like rotation volunteers, and parents can come and help when you need them. bring in supplies to the classroom. Like I had a teacher tell me that, we had a classroom party and a child who's very shy doesn't participate. That child brought in ice cream tubs for the party. And, the mom was like, oh my God, they were so excited at home and felt so proud. I mean, the stories are just endless. And those teachers just really seeing the reaction from the families that don't normally participate, for them to be able to two-way translate. Like, they write in English and the family can receive it in Spanish, and the family writes in Spanish and they receive it in English and can reply back and hold a real-time conversation. That is huge. And so, the satisfaction with teachers and the love from teachers that we see every day is just palpable. So
Yeah, that's amazing. So you have a little event coming in October. So just in a couple weeks of when this is going to
yes.
air, and I'm going to be coming to California. You don't have to twist my arms, come to California. So tell me a little bit about why you arranged this event, and kind of what you hope to be able to do for your users of ParentSquare.
Yeah. So, it's been a dream of mine to have a user conference for ParentSquare. And, honestly, such a big undertaking for our company, and, for a company that is forever innovating and working all the time to release things. And so, we are fortunate enough to have people within our organization who've done this before, and they're like, we'll take this on. And we're like, oh my God, this is so awesome. So they did, and we're having our first user conference in October 9th and 10th and 11th, and very excited for that. So what I'm really hoping is for all our, the employees to actually get to hear the stories directly from the schools, and for the schools to be able to understand how much more they can utilize ParentSquare to help their communities, to help themselves and their teachers, and just, the exchange of ideas that can happen on how to make things better for student success, right? It's all about how do we make it better for our kids and what would work, and ask the why behind the why questions, like, why do you want this? What are you hoping to solve for? Can we perhaps solve this differently? And so, those conversations to happen.
Yeah.
Be amazing.
Yeah. I love that you are committed. I mean, this isn't like necessarily I'm trying to sell stuff. You're just trying to further support the people that are already using it and making it even easier, sharing best practices of how schools are using it, and really making it possible.
We need to sell anything there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so much, I still talk to customers every week. I have like at least one a week call with a customer consciously, and sometimes a lot more as well wherever I'm needed. But I reach out personally. We have a ParentSquare Advisory Council, amazing group of people from around the country, and different demographics served, and different, everyone advising us. We run all our ideas by them, but to do it at this scale at the user conference is something that I'm just so looking forward to it.
Yeah. So it's called SquareCamp, and I don't know if there's any spots still open. We're going to be,
yes.
Yeah, we're going to be in Ontario, California. Is that right?
Yes, not Canada, but California. The CA is California.
Yeah, that's important to know. So how would they get more information?
So they can go to our website, and there should be a link to SquareCamp right there. So
Okay, and I'll make sure there's a direct link to
and all
SquareCamp.
our social medias and everything. So
Okay, I'll
yeah.
make sure there's a direct link in the show notes, everybody listening. I'm going to be there. And so is Joe Sanfilippo, who was my first mentor in this world of social media storytelling.
All world, right?
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So if someone's listening right now that would like to set up, like, learn more about ParentSquare, What should they do?
You know, come visit our website, fill out the form, or, read our blog. It's a lot is out there. Talk to other schools using ParentSquare. They are our best advocates because they can really tell you how much they love ParentSquare and what it has done for them. So
Yeah, and I'm sure eventually they could just set up like a webinar or like some kind
yes,
of an
yeah, yeah,
overview.
fill a form on the website. That's what it leads them to.
Okay. It's free to get information, guys, and this is a great, great tool. I've just been amazed because everybody I talk to loves you guys. I have never talked to somebody who's like, yeah, that's not such a great thing, or it was really hard to implement. It was hard to get buy-in. The teachers love it. And I think it's your commitment to your customer and to solving those problems and to keeping it simple that have really driven the success. And that's why you continue to expand and help more schools. So thank you for leaning into that, Anu.
Thank you, Andrea. It's from one entrepreneur to another. You are the same. Helping schools is it's just feels good, and that's what brings people into work at our company every day is just that sense of camaraderie with each other and this purpose of helping schools.
Yeah, as I get to know more and more of your team, and it's really fun when they're users, they're a ParentSquare like parent, because then they're getting the full experience because it's helping them as well, like Tony.
Yes.
But if somebody wanted to stay, if they had a question for you, Anu, is there any way that they could stay connected to you, or should they just maybe follow the ParentSquare stuff? What would you say?
Yeah, get in touch with ParentSquares, and tell them that, hey, they want to talk to Anu, and I'm always happy to talk, always.
Yeah, I know you're busy.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not super active on social media. Sorry, like you.
That's
Yeah, I will be. This is my every year New Year resolution to be more active on social, and it tapers down by the end of the year.
yes. You got to just come up with one thing like once a week that you're going to do and then make it easy to, because the pressure of it doesn't feel good. And I still have
I
pressure.
don't take that pressure, but just
Yeah.
I want to be. I'm a very social person. Like if you meet me in person,
Yeah.
I love to talk, and it's just social media is just too one way for me, and then
Yes.
yeah, too much to keep track of.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little crazy, and you have built a product that makes it easy. And I especially just want to reiterate, all the different tools, because you often hear that with school communicators. It's like, we got Remind, we got Class Dojo, we've got Google Classroom, we've got this, we've got that, and ParentSquare has brought that all into one.
Yeah, know that they're all good platforms. Like I
Right.
love every tool that is enabling those conversations between school and home, because together we are helping schools think about how important it is to connect with parents. So, and everyone does it a little differently. For us, what is really important is unifying everything into
Yeah.
one place. And that helps everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Anu is very politically correct with all of the love that we give to other companies, because it's true. They're all like trying to accomplish a similar thing. But when you get into a big school, into a big district, I mean, that unification that you provide is real value for everybody.
For everybody, yeah, for educators and for parents.
Yep, and for students.
And for
So
students, yes.
students win. Like you said, it's all about student success. Anu, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you sharing your story.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll see you soon in person in a couple weeks in California. Maybe you're listening today and you'll see us there too. So we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.